Hey, what's going on? It's the Bearded Realtor back at you again with a new video. Hey, so in today's video, we're going to talk about them cash out refis. Everybody getting this money. So I have the lovely, intelligent, and talented Miss Cassandra Dawsonville with me today to give you all the information about cash out refis. All right, so stay tuned. So, like I said before, we're going to talk about the cash out refis. So, explain to us, what is a cash out refi?
So, a cash out refinance is pretty much as it says, cash out, doing a refinance. So, what you're going to see happen is that, obviously, with the way homes are appreciating in value, going above and beyond the typical 7% appreciation annually. Okay. So, utilizing your equity in a way to make home improvements, to pay off debts. You're basically having that ability to tap into your mortgage. Tap into your equity in your home, re-amortize your current mortgage. Okay. Now, a lot of times you can choose to pick a 15, 20, or restart at a 30-year. Okay. Typically, once we do an analysis, we can kind of determine what's going to be better suited for you. But essentially, cash out is just pulling the equity out of your home to use in a way that's going to make financial sense and overall put you in a better financial situation.
Gotcha. So for simpler terms, I guess it's just a second mortgage, you would say?
Well, no. So when you refinance, you're basically paying off your existing mortgage and you're getting a new mortgage. Oh. So you're basically pulling the cash out. So let's say, talk numbers. Let's say let's do easy math. Current mortgage is $100,000 you owe. Okay. And your house is worth $300,000. Okay. So you have $200,000 worth of equity in your home. So you say, you know what? I have these credit cards. Interest rates are sky high on my credit cards. I have these loans. I'm paying $1,200 a month in all of these consumer debts. Okay. If I tap into my equity, I take my current mortgage payment of $900. Take out the equity, pay off my consumer loans. Now my mortgage payment will be $1,200. Okay. Because you use the equity to pay off those consumer loans. Gotcha. So now you already have $1,000 increase in your surplus income because you've eliminated those consumer loans by tapping into the equity in your house. Gotcha.
So essentially, cash out refis is just another way of tapping into that equity you have in your home and bringing another amount. So in that instance, they would go from having $100,000 owed to $300,000 to pay that.
Well, it depends on how much of that equity you want to tap into. Okay. So like let's say with the consumer debt that they wanted to pay off, total was $50,000. Okay. So now that mortgage goes from $100,000 to $150,000. Okay. And now that payment is based off of $150,000.
Gotcha.
Now, a lot of people will think like, oh my God, I have such a low interest rate, I don't want to tap into that. But you want to look at the overall picture. Okay. Just because you have a 3% interest rate on your mortgage, but then you have 22%, 17% on all your consumer, it doesn't really make financial sense to keep your mortgage with a 3% and then you have all these consumer loans that are running up and you're not really seeing a benefit. Gotcha. So you may, especially with the market rates are going up. It may make sense that, okay, I'm going from a 3% to 4.5%, but overall I'm saving $1,000 in my payments.
Gotcha. Okay. So cash out refis seem pretty simple. You could just take the money out of equity. Now, with that being said, can you get all the equity out of your home?
No, for the most part, your refinances, they're going to want any investor is going to want you to make sure that you still have equity in your home. Gotcha. So just like when you're purchasing a house, you got to have skin in the game. That investor wants to make sure that you have equity. Okay. So when you're doing a refinance, they're going to want you to make sure that you still have equity in your home and you're not pulling 100% of that equity out. Gotcha.
Okay. So if a person wanted to do a cash out refi, what is the process like for them?
Simply just contact your lender. Okay. I've had some people where they don't care for their lender, so they just want to kind of switch altogether. Okay. And they kind of reach out to me and say, hey, I want to refinance, but I don't want to do it with my current lender for whatever reason. But for the most part, just contact your lender, let them know that you want to refinance. FHA, they do streamlined refinances. You don't have to do a streamlined refinance with your lender. It can be with any lender that offers FHA. There's a streamlined refinance. Okay. And rewind. So streamlined refinance, it doesn't give you the ability to take cash out.
Gotcha.
So you do want to make sure. So you can pretty much contact any lender to do a refinance, cash out refinance, and start the process. It will take about 30 days or so because we do have to get an appraisal done. Okay. Sometimes, depending on how high the credit score is and how much of a new loan to value we get, sometimes we can get an appraisal waiver where we don't have to get an appraisal. We can just use our automated value system to determine the value. Okay. So, it'll take about 30-day process to do that.
Okay. And so, are there different ways that the refinance works if you basically have let's say you have an FHA loan, or if you have a VA loan? Do those processes differ, or if you have a conventional? How's the process different between loans? Is there a difference?
Really, it's not a difference. For the most part, it's gonna. If anything, you're still going to be held to the regulatory guidelines for your FHA, your VA. Okay. So all our regulators have different requirements when it comes to the refinance and the amount that you pull out. But for the most part, it's still going to take the same process and the same time frame as far as completing the refinance.
Gotcha. And so with that refinance, I've seen processes in my own home when I refinance. You did not have to show income. Is that still the same?
That's the streamline.
That's the streamline.
So that's a streamline where you're just wanting to refinance to lower your interest rate, but don't pull any cash out. Okay. Streamlines are a lot easy, quicker, get done just like that. Because you don't have to show proof of income, assets, or anything like that. As long as you have a good payment history, they'll do a streamline without any proof of docs.
Got you. So now, if you're doing a streamline, if you're doing a regular cash out refi, does that differ as far as closing costs or any closing costs?
Closing costs is going to be the same because your closing cost is your escrows, your prepaids, your title fees for the title company that has to prepare, and then your lender fees. So that's pretty much going to be the same.
Gotcha. So you're essentially paying those fees you paid initially when you first bought the house. Again, when you refi, is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Wow. Okay. Gotcha.
And that's why it's important that when you refinance the first time, that your lender understands your goal. Okay. And it's not simply that you just want a lower interest rate. So, it's always important that you have a lender that understands what your financial goals are, so that way you're making the best investment the first time around when you're doing a refinance.
Gotcha. So now you mentioned something about if a buyer or a consumer wanted to just lower the interest rate to get a lower payment. So is that not a good strategy for a consumer or a homeowner?
I say that to say, for example, I had a client that refinanced last year when rates were low. Okay. But then 5 months later, she was sky high in debt, couldn't breathe, living check to check. And that lender didn't take the time to say, hey, you have all of these debts. Let's go ahead and consolidate to refinance. So now this person is paying for closing costs twice. So had that person did their job correctly, understood that person's goal, then it could have made sense to do the refinance one time, knocking out with a lower interest rate and paying off the debts.
So basically you're saying that when you did that, when they did the refi, you could have essentially took that, cashed out that money and then paid that thing off and then rolled it back up into
That's correct.
Wow. So you hear that? So you can have your debt paid off with the equity in your home. That's pretty cool.
The joy of home ownership.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's very important to have home ownership.
Yes.
Absolutely. So is there anything else that we need to know about cash out refi or just refinancing in general?
At the end of the day, you just want to know what is your ultimate goal. Other than just the interest rate, what's the bigger picture? Do you want to extend it to where, you know what, I've been in this house for 15 years, job change, now I'm making less money, let me refinance, extend it back out for 30 years, so that way I can have a lower payment. And a lot of people think like, oh my God, I don't want to start over, but just because you're now back at 30 years, your lender would say, you know what, they could always revisit and say, without doing a refinance, let's say your income is changing, you're now in a position where you can make more, that you can make more towards your payment. You can actually pay towards your principal to help pay down your loan and pay it off in 15, 20 years. So you don't have to have that ability to just make that fixed payment for 30 years, you can put more towards it to help pay it off sooner.
Gotcha. So it seems like having owning a home, you can do a lot of things. To help pay bills and debts that you have. And if you haven't already, definitely check out the HELOC video we did. Check that out. It's a great video. You'll learn a lot that you can use the equity in your home as well. So where can everybody reach you at?
Well, if you want to reach me, again, my name is Cassandra, and I could be reached at 904-903-1183, or you can check out my social media handle on Instagram and Facebook at New Era Home Sale.
All right, so as I said before, some great information on being a homeowner and how you use that equity in your home. So if you're on the fence about buying a home, or if you're trying to do a cash out refi, get with Cassandra. She can take care of you, okay? So that's all I have for you today. Also, if you like this video, hit that like button, hit subscribe. All right, so that's all I have for you today. I'm the Bearded Realtor, and I'll talk to you soon.
And I'm Cassandra. Deuces.